in order to find firm ground. The soul's eye, which is really buried deep in a sort of barbaric bog, it draws out quietly and leads upward, having the arts we've described as handmaids and helpers. These we've often termed sciences from habit. They need another name, one clearer than opinion, dimmer than knowledge. We've defined it somewhere already, but understanding. Sorry, that's what he calls it, understanding. Okay, now I'm going to go a step further. What does he do? This is a part of one sentence. The dialectic method proceeds alone by this way, demolishing the hypotheses as it goes back to the very beginning itself. That's all he says about the dialectic in Book 7. I'm in Book 6. By the way, for those of you interested in the reference, that's at 533 is the Tophanis number, or page 333 in the Rouse. Now, I'm in Book 6 at page 311, or the Rouse 511, approximately 511, Stephanus number. Now then, understand that by the other part of things thought, I mean what the arguing process itself grasps by the power of dialectic, treating assumptions not as beginnings, but as literally hypotheses. That's to say, steps, springboards for assault, from which it may push its way up to the region free of assumptions. What do we have to do? We have to push our way free of assumptions and reach the beginning of all, and grasp it, clinging again and again to whatever clings to this, and so may come down to a conclusion without using the help of anything at all that belongs to any of the senses, but only the ideas themselves. And passing through ideals, it may end in ideals. By the way, this is the response to it. I understand, though not sufficiently, for you seem to me to describe a very heavy task, but I see that you wish to lay down that a clearer perception of real being and the world of mind is given by the knowledge of dialectic. Yeah, that's right. Okay, now, what are we going to do? We're going to look for assumptions. We're going to look for assumptions. We're going to look for assumptions. All right, now we're going to look for assumptions and see whether by this we can unmask them. And if we have any assumptions, of course, we haven't reached what we want to reach, which is a pure idea, a pure reason. Now, would you agree so far that we can say someone experiences that? Let's go further and say something that all the great Roshis have said many places. And that is, in such an experience, one is capable of penetrating it infinitely. One can go into it in more and more in profound depths. Right? It is capable of being realized more profoundly. Whatever experience you've had, it'll be profound. It's capable of profound depths. And you know one thing about it, and that is that it truly is the nature of ultimate reality. You know, that's what really is reality, see? Another word for it. All right? Now look here. Whether we like it or not, would you not agree, strictly speaking, just if we just stay with those two ideas, whether we like it or not, we are obliged to say that this thing that has been experienced, if it doesn't have separable parts, at least one can at least talk about distinctions within it, profounder, and that it is. So, if it is, it has a certain class of parts. Not parts breaking apart, but you can have distinctive part. Right? If it is, we'll make it more exalted and put a capital there. Right? If it is, it has distinctive parts or aspects of it, or
attributes,
or in any case, plural. Well then, in that experience then, there's nothing else but that. So in that respect, if there's one name over the whole thing, therefore it has a unity. It's a whole. Not in the sense that I have three pieces of chalk, but perhaps the kind of unity that comes when you talk about the parts of a symphony. They don't have parts like this, but you can make distinctions between them. So if it is a whole, it has a unity, and if it has a unity, it has parts. If it has parts, then in some way we can do some other things with it. We can say, you know what we can say about this? We could also say, could we not, that there's something about this that we know. It's like. It is like, in some degree, like light. I mean, because that's the language, radiance, brilliance. Therefore, this experience is in fact like something else. Oh, by the way, equally well, that experience is other than everything else, isn't it? Isn't it, Miss? Yeah, it must be other than everything else because there's nothing else like it in that pure sense, though there is something that is similar to it, like, radiance, light, because it's not the same thing. But there's something about it that's similar. We wouldn't use the same term. Huh. Well, to some degree then we can say this thing as a whole, it has unity. It can be like something, right? And therefore we can use the idea of some and other. And by the way, are we not obliged to say equally well there must be other things if that is? Since other things are different from that. So therefore we can also say it's different from other things, can we not? Different and other? Yeah. It can be known. It can be known. Even if we say the experience itself is eternal and has no sense of time within it, nonetheless, it's capable of being known.
Known because it's experienced, or
Pardon?
known how?
Pardon?
Known because it's experienced, or
Yes.
known?
Yes, right. That's what we said. That's what we said. Yeah. Object of knowledge, in the higher sense, must be known. But wait a minute. Let's see now. If there is such a thing as the one, we know one thing. We know one thing we can rest upon. It can't be many. Right? If it's one, it cannot be many. Agreed? Well, that's obvious. That's what makes it so nice. It can't be many. Oh, by the way, if whatever we say about it turns out to be many, we'll know we're not dealing with something we call the one, but something else. Yeah. By the way, if there is such a thing as a whole, must it not have parts? Because that's what we mean by a whole.
That's what makes it a whole,
That,
right?
right, what's a whole but that which lacks the totality of all its parts, the sum of all its parts. Or we can talk about it negatively and say that of which no part is lacking. Either way. Mm-hmm. So therefore, if something is a whole, it must. Then, if it has parts, is that plural?
Yes.
Is that a many?
Yes.
Well, then anything that's a whole can't